Hi guys, it's SkintBoot here, and today what I'm going to be bringing you guys is a No Man's Sky video. And in today's video, what I'm going to be looking into is a new graphical option on PC and console versions of No Man's Sky that add much greater complexity to terrain and the appearance of ground textures. And yeah, I'll admit, that sounds very boring when I describe it in that way, but once you see the visual examples and you can actually see how this feature works in real time, it will excite you a little bit more, at least I hope so. So generally speaking, if you're big on PC gaming, then this will be something that you understand, this will be something that you recognized, and likely if you play No Man's Sky on PC, you would probably be quite excited about this feature when it did eventually get added to the game. However, it was kind of added out of nowhere, it was quietly slipped in, and there are likely still some people who aren't aware of its existence. So today I just want to briefly explain what terrain tessellation is, how it affects No Man's Sky, and just show some visual examples to get a better idea of how this changes the gaming experience. But anyway, with all of that said and done, please do sit back and relax. Let's get started. So terrain tessellation was a feature that Hello Games talked about in their roadmaps many different times. It was stated quite early on that it was something they were definitely working on and that it was something that would eventually make its way into No Man's Sky. The first time we saw this feature teased was way back in the first roadmap that showed a before and after slider, the photo thingy. Now some people claim that there was actually not much difference when they saw this, and yeah, the photo didn't actually do it justice. But now that this is officially out on all platforms and we don't just have a single photo to go off, we can see just how much of a difference it makes to the game. But before we get into how it actually looks up close, let's quickly go over what exactly tessellation is, and more specifically, terrain tessellation. The wonderful World Wide Web gives us the following definition. In computer graphics, tessellation is used to manage data sets of polygons, sometimes called vertex sets, presenting objects in a scene and divide them into suitable structures for rendering. Especially for real-time rendering, data is tessellated into triangles, for example in OpenGL 4.0 and Direct3D 11. But that is an absolutely fucking awful definition unless you're super clued up on game design. But terrain tessellation is much easier to explain. In simple terms, terrain tessellation is giving height to what would be flat textures. Take this example of a game called Ghost Recon Wildlands. You've most likely heard of this. It's a game I've never played myself, but it was quite big about a year or so back. So this photo shows terrain tessellation in the easiest possible way to understand. So the picture in question is the exact same place on the map, but with the feature off on the left and the feature turned on the right. So right away, you'll notice just how shit the left photo looks. The ground is a simple flat texture. There is no height, there's no diversity, it's a simple 2D texture that is pretty immersion breaking. It's something that you would see on a really old 2005 racing game. The right photo is with terrain tessellation in action, and as you can see, it makes a big difference. Where the previous texture was just 2D, as in the rock scene were almost painted to the floor, the photo on the right has physical rocks with height differences, geometry, and actually resemble 3D assets. In simple terms, what you see on the right is what you'd see if you say went hiking up a mountain, and the left is what you'd see when playing Half-Life 1. So that is terrain tessellation. I think that's probably the best example and the most kind of visual example that you can get. It basically gives height to textures to make them actually seem like physical entities. It's really interesting and kind of confusing stuff. So back to No Man's Sky. Now on most consoles, minus the standard Xbox One, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, terrain tessellation is enabled with no way to toggle it on and off, because consoles. However, on PC, and with the freedom to adjust your graphical settings to your own might, the option can be toggled on and off in the video settings. For PC, I haven't noticed any performance hits whatsoever, which I'm actually very surprised about. Hello Games did state that before this feature launched, tessellation would have zero impact on performance, and at the time I somehow didn't believe that, but now it's absolutely crazy to see that this was the case, and there is absolutely fuck all hit to performance. So once the setting is turned on, we can delve into actually how this looks. So I managed to capture about 4 different planets to showcase the diversity Tessellation has on gameplay. The first is a sandy part of a planet, and the waves of sand can be clearly seen. There are also little rocks poking out of the sand at some points, and the cracks on bigger rocks have depth to them. Each little crevice has its own height and is different to the last, much like sand in real life. Next is what I can only describe as a vein planet. These alien looking lines were previously only 2D textures, however now they have height. The holes surrounding the veins also have depth, and this helps create a massively alien feeling that does genuinely make you feel uncomfortable. How about some more rocks? On snowy planets, one can find slopes made entirely from individual bumpy stones. As you can see, each pebble rises and falls. Some are bigger, some are smaller. This applies to all stony parts of this featured planet, so think just how many individual stones inhabit this landscape. And finally, we have a moon-like surface. This has the same wavy sand texture, but with the addition of cracks. See how the cracks actually go down and have space where space should be. Even the cracks in the cracks have depth. It's a fucking crackception. So those are some of the very precise examples which I can give you. However, just from watching this background footage, you can notice the difference Tessellation makes. It is very, very obvious. Previously, in the before and after photos, it didn't seem too impressive, but as we all know, each planet is different in No Man's Sky, so each time you're going to get a different kind of vibe from it. But honestly, it is such an amazing feature that you should definitely try if you're on PC, or if you're on console, just learn to appreciate and kind of take in and take notice of a little bit more. Thank you Hello Games for adding this. I think a lot of us in the community are very happy that we can now get increased graphical fidelity with No Man's Sky. I know that I would find it pretty damn hard to play without it now, because sometimes you just get stuck looking at holes and little bumps and shit. And honestly, in terms of immersion, and if VR support were ever introduced in the future, like, this is real life basically. It's absolutely crazy. But anyways, I'm gonna stop rambling because it's gonna seem like I'm trying to hit the 10-minute mark. I'm not, even though I am poor, but my revenue is absolutely abysmal at the moment, so it doesn't quite matter. But I just wanted to say thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. If you guys enjoyed it, then please do feel free to leave a like on it, and if you guys could also subscribe to MZK, then that'd be absolutely fantastic. And as always, I will see you guys on my next video. This is SkintBoot, signing out.